Okay, so are you ready to dive into some seriously thought-provoking stuff today?
Always up for a challenge. What do we have?
Excerpts from the Lucis Trust writings.
Oh, wow. Okay, we're talking big concepts here, like really big soul initiation, even this,
Mysterious group known as the hierarchy.
yes, exactly. That's the one.
I'll admit, even getting warmed up for this deep dive had me feeling like I needed an extra shot of espresso. But that's what makes this so fascinating, right?
Absolutely.
We're going beyond the surface here, like way beyond. We're digging into the good stuff and figuring out how it applies to you.
You hit the nail on the head there.
Because let's be honest, what's the point of all this wisdom if we can't unlock our own inner wisdom in the process?
Right. You said it. The Lucis Trust, largely based on Alice Bailey's writings,
No.
not exactly your beach read.
Definitely not.
We're dealing with ancient wisdom and esoteric philosophy here. But don't worry about grasping everything all at once. Think of it like this. You hand someone a giant, intricate puzzle. They wouldn't expect to understand the whole picture just by looking at the scattered pieces, right?
Yes.
It's about the journey of putting it together.
I love that analogy.
And with the Lucis Trust material,
Yeah.
that journey can be a lifelong adventure.
And speaking of putting the puzzle together, I noticed three major themes running through the excerpts you shared. The path of discipleship and initiation,
Okay.
the human constitution, and the power of thought.
Those are definitely the pillars of this work,
Mhm.
and they're all intricately connected.
Oh, absolutely.
For example, understanding the human constitution, that we are more than just our physical bodies, is essential for embarking on the path of discipleship. And the power of thought. Well, that's the key to unlocking our potential at every stage of the journey.
Let's talk about that first theme then, the path of discipleship and initiation. There's a certain mystique surrounding these ideas, wouldn't you say?
For sure.
It feels almost like we're stepping into a secret society.
You know, there's a reason for that.
Okay.
These practices have been passed down through the ages, often shrouded in secrecy. But it's not about exclusivity. It's about safeguarding the teachings and ensuring they're passed on to those who are truly prepared to receive them.
So are you saying...
Imagine trying to explain quantum physics to someone who hasn't even learned basic algebra yet.
Right.
Wouldn't make much sense.
Yeah.
Similarly, the path of discipleship unfolds gradually, revealing deeper truths as we develop our capacity to understand and integrate them.
So how does learning by absorption play into all of this? I kept encountering that phrase in the excerpts.
That's a key concept in esoteric teachings. Think about a time you learned something new, not by struggling through textbooks, but because it just clicked on an intuitive level.
Oh, yeah.
That's learning by absorption. It's like the knowledge seeps into your very being, becoming part of your understanding without conscious effort.
Wow.
These teachings work on that deeper level, speaking to the soul and the intuition.
So it's not about memorizing facts and figures,
No.
but about expanding our awareness, almost like fine-tuning an antenna to pick up subtler frequencies. It's about trusting that the answers are already within us, waiting to be uncovered.
Precisely. And as we embark on the path of discipleship, one of the most profound shifts we experience is in our understanding of the human constitution.
Which brings us to that second theme, right? It seems like the Lucis Trust is saying we are far more than just flesh and bone.
Exactly. We're talking about multiple layers of being
Okay.
physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. The excerpts mention the soul, the spiritual triad, in a web of energetic connections that make us who we are. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion, revealing greater depth and complexity with each layer.
Okay, I have to ask, when I saw Science of the Anaconda in the excerpts, I almost skipped right over it. It sounds intimidatingly complex. Could you break that down for us?
It sounds much more complicated than it actually is.
Okay.
Think of the Anaconda as a bridge connecting the different aspects of ourselves. It links our everyday personality to our soul and eventually to even higher realms of consciousness. It's the pathway that allows us to access and express our innate wisdom and creativity.
So how do we actually build this bridge? Is it like meditation, visualizations? I'm all for inner peace, but I'm also a very practical person.
And that practicality is an asset on this path. You're right, practices like meditation and visualization are key. But the building blocks of the Anaconda are actually developed through our everyday experiences.
Really?
Every time we act with integrity, every time we choose compassion over judgment,
Interesting.
we're strengthening that bridge. It's
Yep.
about aligning our actions with our highest aspirations.
So we're laying down some serious groundwork here, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
Learning by absorption, the multi-layered human constitution, the Anaconda as this bridge to higher awareness. But there's one theme we haven't touched on yet that always gets me fired up.
Oh yeah, what's that?
The power of thought.
Ah, yes.
The idea that our minds aren't just passive receivers, but active creators of our reality. That's powerful stuff.
And it's a concept that the Lucis Trust really emphasizes, for sure. They delve into how thought is a potent force, capable of shaping not just our individual lives, but also the world around us.
It's almost like we're each given this incredible toolkit, but most of us haven't taken the time to read the instruction manual, you know?
Handed that.
We're walking around with this powerhouse inside us, unaware of its true potential.
That's a great way to put it. And within that toolbox is the concept of working with thought, which you highlighted earlier. It's not about controlling our thoughts. We all know how well that works out.
Yeah.
But about learning to use them consciously and creatively.
The excerpts mention something called thought form building.
Okay.
What exactly is a thought form? Are we talking like telekinesis here? Because that would be awesome.
Not quite telekinesis, but it's surprisingly close.
Okay.
Imagine an artist meticulously shaping clay into a sculpture.
Right.
That's essentially what we do with thought forms. We focus our intention, our emotions, and our mental energy to create specific forms on the mental plane.
So instead of our thoughts just dissipating like steam from a teapot,
Exactly.
we're giving them form and direction. But why? What's the purpose of building these thought forms?
That's where things get really interesting. Thought forms have the power to influence our reality. Think of a time you couldn't shake a negative thought.
Ugh, all the time.
That negativity has weight. It impacts your energy. Now imagine consciously crafting a thought form infused with positive qualities, courage, compassion, or maybe even just the motivation to tackle that to-do list.
So instead of letting our thoughts run wild, we become conscious architects of our mental landscape.
Yes.
And that naturally spills over into our physical reality.
Precisely. The Lucis Trust suggests that mastering this process is key to creating lasting positive change, both within ourselves and in the world. But it's a skill that requires discipline, practice, and a deep understanding of the subtle energies at play. And that's where the concept of the hierarchy comes in.
The mysterious hierarchy.
Lead-
We've danced around it a bit, but let's dive in. What are they exactly?
Okay.
And why all the secrecy?
The hierarchy, as described in the excerpts, is a group of highly evolved beings who have transcended ordinary human limitations.
Okay.
They're often referred to as masters, and they've achieved a level of consciousness that allows them to work from behind the scenes to guide humanity's evolution.
It's like a spiritual dream team, working tirelessly to help us level up as a species. But if they're here to help, why all the cloak and dagger stuff?
Imagine the global panic if news broke that a group of beings with almost unimaginable abilities was subtly influencing world affairs.
Oh, right.
The Lucis Trust suggests that the hierarchy's emergence is directly tied to humanity's readiness. The more we evolve, the more receptive we become to their guidance.
So we need to get our act together if we want to be on a first-name basis with these masters.
In a way, yes. But it's not just about collective readiness, it's also about personal responsibility. Each of us has a part to play in this grand cosmic drama.
And that's where the path of discipleship comes full circle, doesn't it? It's about consciously choosing to align ourselves with this evolutionary current, with the wisdom and guidance of the hierarchy.
Precisely. It's about becoming active participants in our own evolution and, by extension, the evolution of humanity as a whole.
Okay, but let's be real for a second. All this talk of masters and subtle energies can feel pretty abstract.
Yeah.
How do we even know this hierarchy exists?
Yeah.
Have you ever, bumped into D-Wall Cool at the grocery store?
Well, while I haven't personally shared a shopping cart with D-Wall Cool, the impact of the hierarchy isn't about a meet and greet. It's about those moments of synchronicity, those whispers of intuition, that sense of guidance that seems to come from beyond our ordinary awareness.
So it's less about seeing and more about sensing.
Yeah.
But how do we tune into that frequency, especially in the midst of our chaotic daily lives?
That's where the practical applications of these teachings come in, which we'll delve into in the next part of our deep dive.
All right, so we're back. And wow, we've been on quite a journey exploring these Lucis Trust excerpts.
We really have.
Learning by absorption, the intricate layers of our being, the power of thought to shape reality.
All right.
Plus, we've got this hierarchy subtly guiding us towards, well, let's just call it Cosmic 2.0.
I like that.
But as with any good mystery, I feel like there are still some layers we need to peel back. Some stuff that might seem a little more, well,
Controversial.
maybe thought-provoking is a better way to put it.
Yeah, I think these teachings definitely don't shy away from challenging our assumptions.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting, right?
Yeah.
For example, the idea that the hierarchy influences world events, even like politics,
Okay.
it makes me think of those movies where unseen forces are, moving chess pieces on a global scale.
Right, right.
A little unnerving? No.
It's easy to jump to that kind of imagery, I think. But the excerpts emphasize that the hierarchy's influence is subtle and that it respects free will.
Okay.
Think of it like this. A gardener doesn't force a plant to grow in a certain direction. They create the optimal conditions for it to flourish.
So nudging, not controlling. But what about all the suffering in the world? If this hierarchy is as advanced as described, why not just, hit the cosmic reset button and fix everything?
That's a question many grapple with on the spiritual path, for sure.
Yeah.
The Lucis Trust teachings suggest that suffering, while challenging, is also a catalyst for growth. Think of a muscle that grows stronger through resistance training, not by remaining idle.
So we're learning through challenges, and the hierarchy is there to support us through the process, not to shield us from it entirely.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's like that wise friend who offers guidance and encouragement, but ultimately allows us to walk our own path and learn from our own experiences.
Okay, that makes sense. But there's another concept that feels a bit like a head-scratcher: initiation. It's often shrouded in this air of secrecy, almost like an exclusive club with like a very strict doorman.
Right. It's important to remember that initiation, in the esoteric sense, isn't about social status or special privileges.
Okay.
It's about achieving specific stages of spiritual awakening. Each initiation marks a profound shift in consciousness, like upgrading your operating system to handle a much larger reality.
So it's less about joining the cosmic elite
Exactly.
and more about expanding our capacity to understand and work with subtler energies and truths.
Precisely. It's about aligning ourselves with that evolutionary current we talked about earlier.
Right.
The path to initiation is open to anyone with the dedication to do the inner work.
And speaking of inner work, the Lucis Trust material is full of, well, let's be honest, esoteric symbols and language.
Lots of it.
I felt like I needed a decoder ring just to get through some paragraphs.
Uh-huh.
Why all the cryptic messaging?
Think of it like a safety mechanism.
Okay.
Some truths are so potent, so far outside our ordinary understanding that they need to be veiled. Imagine handing someone a live wire and saying, "Here, hold this." You want to make sure they knew how to handle it safely first.
So the symbols and metaphors are there to protect us as much as to guide us.
Exactly. And they also serve another purpose.
What's that?
They engage our intuition. When we encounter a symbol, we're invited to look beyond the surface, to unlock its hidden meaning.
Okay, I can see how that would keep us on our toes, constantly seeking deeper layers of understanding.
And that's the beauty of these teachings.
Yeah.
They're not a passive belief system. They're a call to action, an invitation to embark on a lifelong journey of self-discovery and service.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, where does that leave us, and maybe more importantly, our listener? We've covered a lot of ground, some of it familiar, some of it definitely pushing the boundaries of our usual thinking.
For sure, for sure.
So where do we go from here?
The most important thing is to remember that these teachings are ultimately pointing us inward.
Okay.
They're about uncovering our own inner wisdom, our own connection to something greater than ourselves.
It's not about blindly accepting everything we've discussed, but rather about using these ideas as a springboard for our own exploration.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Read the excerpts again with fresh eyes. What resonates most deeply with you? What sparks your